gym names with this.
Oh, the green jacket.
Yeah. So welcome to coming, so much good to see you tonight. And we have an agenda for tonight that you all hopefully got at the front door. Doris and Terry were handing those out. We're going to try to keep to schedule. We know your time is precious, and we're going to get right to task. So what you will get this evening is information, and we'll get some conversation going with the candidates. And so, without further ado, I will then start getting into that. Is there anything you want to hang out for that?
Okay, let me know if you need anything.
Okay, so we have various kind of props going on here. This is going live on video, and we have some district maps, which the candidates are going to talk about. So on the agenda, with the welcoming already on the way, we're going to, the candidates both are going to talk about their backgrounds. Okay, and one thing that went into the planning for this event was to get both candidates together that have a common, you'll see how common their backgrounds are, and they're both individuals in their own right, have their strengths and all. But we believe as Democrats to make economy of scale here, because in Mark's District 1 is entirely within District 22 on the State House map. And you'll explain that as each state will do. The next thing they'll do is they'll talk about why they're running, what really prompted them, what makes somebody, want to be in political office these days, an elective office. It's a big task, and it's a big commitment, not just for the person running, but the family and everybody else around them, And then when they come asking for help, it's, all right, and then, how are they going to represent you if they get elected? They want to give you a foreshadowing of just, what really drives them, what's their passions about really being in public service, what can you expect of them when they get in office? And so each of them are going to talk about that simultaneously, but not at the same time, obviously. Roy will go first, and then Mark will go second. Then thirdly, the maps up here. Because the lines keep getting redrawn, you feel that way with the precincts and the House district boundaries are one, and the Senate districts are different. And then the district supervisors are even different than that. So we feel as a campaign that we've got to get you kind of orientated to the lay of the land. And I feel that as a voter myself. If I'm feeling that way, I would think other fellow Democrats that we go talk with need to be educated in a very good way that we can do. And we don't want to leave that part of the learning out of the equation. Okay? That'll be third on the agenda, and both Rory and Mark are prepared to do that. And then they're going to get to highlighting some issues that really are going to stay a lot of people's minds today. Education, AEA, women's rights, women's health, reproductive rights, and all that we want to talk about. And it seems like it's an ever ending source of litigation or legislation that comes out that seemingly puts us in awe. And what do we do about it? Okay. So they're highlighting those issues for the purpose of the next part of the agenda at 7:45. We stay on point here with 30 minutes of the candidate time for you to then soak in kind of the highlights and ask the specific questions. We want to hear from you. The best thing they can do is elect representatives. I've never been one myself, but I've certainly been is listen to our students. Can you get the feedback back that they're hearing what you're saying? And that is so important. So the loop has to happen back to them, and so you can ask the question, be prepared to do that. And then we want to thank the people and acknowledge the people such as Chris Shipley tonight, he's the gentleman here that's joined the campaign as part of our media team, and along with Abby Schuler and Amy Taylor, Roy's daughter, on the media team, doing so much in the social media aspect of things, getting the word out about the candidacy, and then let some closing remarks. And hopefully we'll be done around 8:30. And it's not pouring rain out, and the weather stays good. You're welcome to stick around afterwards as we talk to the candidates. We'll probably still have some booze on the tables. So restrooms are in the back of the clubhouse here. There's a coat closet. So help yourself to some of the goodies. There's wine. Doris brought the wine. Not blaming you. I think that's a great thing. But there is also raspberry lemonade, Gatorade, and water in the ice chest back there, and plenty of goodies. So welcome again. And so with that, Rory Taylor. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. little blown away. I was thinking maybe 15 people would show up tonight, not this many, so it's awesome to see you all here. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Bevington, Iowa. If you've been through there, you might have missed it if you blinked. I went to Marksville St. Mary's High School, graduated in 78, right?
Stop.
Two of my classmates are here tonight, former classmates. I attended Iowa State University, got a degree in history and minor in political science. I was a teacher, coach. Teaching really wasn't my bag. First 2 years was going home with headaches there, and I thought, is this really the best career choice? So with having my father and siblings in the military, I joined the Army. After I got out of the Army, I thought I've got a lot more discipline now. I can do this. Went back to teaching for a year. I said, can't do this. So then I got on with United Airlines. It was a fabulous job for 26 years, and we were a union station. They came in and said, we'd like you to leave, please. So they closed 28 stations in one fatal swoop. And they said, well, you got a job. Well, sure, if I want to go to LA, New York, Houston, and that wasn't the choice with a senior in high school and a freshman in high school. So I took early retirement, and my lovely bride said, that's not working for me. So she found me another job. And then I was there 6 months, and I got a better offer with Graybar Electric, and I've been there for 9 years. This has truly turned into an amazing thing. It all started with the gentleman, I had 2 yard signs for Joe Kerner, and Joe's district is 21. It was 21 over in Indianola. It wasn't here. And I got a call from the Morgantown Democrat saying, you got 2 signs that aren't yours. I said, well, which ones? Joe Kerner's. I said, well, who's running against Stan? He said, nobody. I said, you gotta be kidding me. And he said, why, you interested? And I should have said no. But I said, yeah, I am interested. So a few months later, well, it was actually less than a month later, I contacted Bob and said, hey, want to work on a campaign again? Because we worked on the Pete Buttigieg campaign together and had a great time doing it. And he said, yeah, who are you thinking about? I said, me? Yeah, we can do this. So he's been a real positive influence on this, and his wife Terry. They've been awesome. We'll talk about what the goals are later on, but that's a little bit about me. My family's originally from Warren County. My mom's family is in Carlisle in the 1850s. They homesteaded that area. My dad's family to Virginia in the same time period. So got some pretty strong roots. I've been here in Norwalk 31 years. It's a great town to live in, and it's really blown up since I moved in. So it's amazing to watch. I just hate all the stoplights. But so I try to find alternate routes out of town. But that's basically my story. Mark.
Thank you, Rory. My name is Mark Mallage. I'm from St. Mary's. This literally has been a moment that has been putting together for about 50 years. I would mow the hay on my mother's farm and think of campaign speeches as I was mowing the hay. I was during the time, I was very young, but John F. Kennedy, but then Robert F. Kennedy. Okay, and so I really embraced that concept. And so, no, I've got 50 years worth of speeches in me. You won't hear them all tonight. But the best, you can read about me in those little pamphlets, but one thing I'm going to tell you right now is I'm going to share with you the most impactful moment that occurred in my life. It was October 19th, 1964. I went to bed, my 2 sisters are here. I went to bed with a father and a mother. I woke up that morning with only a mother. My father died of a heart attack during the night at age 37. My mother, I was the oldest of 5 children. I was 7 years old. That was the worst day of my life. Okay? But in that, as we moved forward, our grandmother came and lived with us. The people of St. Mary's, embraced us. You find religion real quick in that regard too, okay? Faith is very important to me. But the next thing is then as I went on through my life, my mother having 5 kids, she could not micromanage us, okay? If I made a mistake, it was my mistake. But also the successes were my successes, okay? I was never, oh, you're Cliff Matledge's boy. It was, oh, you're Mark Matledge. I've heard of you, whether it's showing cattle or sports or whatever. Graduated Martinsdale St. Mary's a couple years before Rory. Had his brother play first base, was pitcher and outfield. I went to Iowa State, degree in animal science. And then I led I'm not a politician. What I am is, I'm a public servant. My first job was 17 years with the Farmers Home Administration. It was the government lending arm that loaned money to farmers and people that wanted to buy houses that could not get credit elsewhere. You had to be turned down by other banks before you could come to us. And I started in 1980, the start of the farm crisis. And I can say a few years later, at 26, my blood pressure was higher than 66, okay? But I looked at it, people came to me every day with their problems. Sometimes the problems were so deep, we just closed the file and we dismissed them for a little bit, okay? After 17 years of doing that, I wanted to see another part. They had changed some things with the agency, and I started working for banks. I worked for City State Bank in Norwalk. I was working down at the New Virginia branch. And again, it was a wonderful experience. The Albrecht family is a tremendous family. And again, given the opportunity to help people's dreams come true, okay? Whether it was they wanted to buy a farm, whether it was a young person wanted to buy his first car, and people with problems that they would tell me their problems that they wouldn't even tell their own spouse, okay? Or their adult children. That was very fulfilling. Then I went to People's Bank for the last 7 years. Our mother went to a care facility in Indianola. I took that opportunity, and again, that was very, very fulfilling. Again, being a commercial and ag lender really is a little bit like working for yourself, okay? They just say, go out and find customers, see what you can do for them, and that's what we did. Throughout that whole time, I also raised cattle. Cattle have been a part of my life my whole time. Still raised cattle. Showed cattle, my kids showed cattle. And then I spent a time coaching high school girls basketball. I coached at M. When my daughter graduated, I decided, I'm not done with this. So I became an assistant. I took the long shot and I became an assistant at Des Moines Roosevelt and then at West Des Moines Valley. And I got to go to state with both those teams. And so I have my wife, Jackie, retired teacher from Interstate 35. We have 3 grown children. They are 41, 40, and 37. Okay, so we have 5 grandchildren. In fact, one's playing ball over at the new Fairway Fields tonight, okay? The other thing I'll say then is that on the back of my card, there's some flags there. And I had envisioned but those flags are from the St. Mary's Cemetery on Memorial Day. The veterans do a great job to put all the flags up and everything. And I took that picture. I took a picture. I'm pretty proud of the fact that not only are my parents there, my grandparents on both sides and great-grandparents on both sides. My roots are so deep in this county, if it didn't rain for 5 years, I'd still get a drink of water, okay? You don't have to be here to represent people, but I tell you what, it gives you a leg up when you start talking with people one-on-one and really putting in the fight for people when they have problems, okay, because they're your neighbors. So I've never talked about what my life has been in 5 minutes that quick in my life, so, but that's what I'm going to do. So thank you. And I wanted to say, not only Democrats, but hopefully we have a few Republicans and independents here, because we can't do this without all of you, okay? So I welcome you as well, if you are that type as well. Thank you.
Okay. Next, Roy, why are you running for elective office and How are you going to represent your future constituents?
I mentioned the gentleman from Warren County saying that to me, but you know, my whole life, my family's been involved with politics. My folks went to the, caucuses and county convention and district convention, and I kind of got, we kind of got drugged along with that. And then in 1980, my first presidential election, we were born Kennedy Democrats and raised that way. And so when Teddy Kennedy ran, it's like, that's natural. So I was precinct captain for Teddy. And it's quite an experience. I meet Ethel and a couple of the Kennedy kids. And, I kept doing that for a few years. And I got married and had kids. And that kind of got put aside with all school activities and scouting and band stuff going on. And then this all came up and I thought, you know what, here's an opportunity. I'm near retirement age. Let's do this. And I thought, well, I have to leave my job early, but come to find out it was Long Island, they can't force you, they can't fire you for serving in public office. So if I do get elected, I've got that 4 months, and then 3 months later, I'm off in the sunset, retired. But there's a real need in this state right now to get some things changed, and I think we can get that done. We've got some great candidates. Spencer down at Indianola and Karen Barley over west of us in that district in 23. So we've got a great opportunity to get some seats back and to truly lead and govern this state. We have lost that. They don't know how to govern anymore. All of their legislation comes from out of state. There's no original thinking by folks in Iowa anymore. And I think that Democrats can get the job done if we get education back to where education needs to be.
I'm really enjoying retirement. I retired a year ago last January, and I really didn't go looking for this, but I'm just going to state facts. I always talk facts to you, but I always wanted to do more with the Democratic Party. The jobs I had really didn't afford me to be very political. Okay. And so I did. But I started getting involved more with the county Democrats and whatever. And started to attend a few board of county supervisor meetings and the such. And I think what lit some of our fire was the decision of the board of supervisors to name the person that they named as auditor when our longstanding auditor decided to retire. And she had named one of her strong lieutenants to be the person. And that was not taken very well by the majority of people, especially when we saw that Kim won by about 65 to 35% of the vote. That, and I started seeing chinks in our supervisors, the way they do things. Okay. Warren County is really exploding. And I've had over 40 years of looking at budgets. Okay. Big companies, small family budgets. Okay. And what I've seen over the last few years is a lot of spending. And when they spend too much, they just raise your real estate taxes. And it doesn't matter, especially for people on fixed incomes. You know, we plan our life, we get our bills paid, and when we retire, pay off our house or whatever it is. But then every year we get reassessed. And that goes up. Okay. And we're a very fortunate county. We have a lot of growth. We have money. Okay. We're not like Decatur County or Ringgold, where they have maybe 3,000 population. So I made a decision that I was done having other people making decisions for me and for the people I love. Okay. And so, like my coaching career, when I tend to do something, I plan to win. Okay. I'm going to work hard enough to win. And one saying that I read one time was, my famous coach was, the desire to win is not as important as the desire to prepare to win. Okay? The journey in preparing has to be more important, just the winning. So Rory and I, we're going to prepare really hard. Okay? We're going to leave it all out there on the field, all right? But we do need all of you. But I just want to make people's lives better. I know more people in this county, not as many in Norwalk, but if this was a county-wide race, probably, I know tons of people in this county. But even if you're not in my district, and we'll talk about that later, when I get elected, I will be working for all of you, okay? So that's the thing that I want to do.
I was waiting for your cue. Oh, you're reading, I'm sorry. We're gonna talk about the new districts now. This has changed. The last election, Stan Gustafson ran unopposed. And this was the new district. The old district used to run basically across this part. It take Norwalk in and go into Madison County, which is really red. So it was an incredibly tough district to win. We've got a district we can win. We've got Carlisle, we've got Norwalk, Martinsdale, St. Mary's, New Virginia, Greenfield Plaza. Those are very winnable areas. And I think that Mark and I both have the advantage in these districts is that we have grown up in the middle of it in Martinsdale, St. Mary's, and we know a lot of those people. And a lot of them are Republicans now. And their parents were blue collar union guys going to Des Moines working. Their kids, not so much anymore, being Democrats. But we're talking to them and they're saying, yes, I will vote for you. So that's all we've got to do. We just got to get those folks to turn a little bit and we can get these elections won. But it starts at Ackworth, goes up Minda, Hartford, all the way across and back down into Squaw Creek Township. That's actually going to be the hardest nut to crack right there. That's really super red. But we've got some folks down there working for us, so I think we're going to be okay down there. But Mark's district runs right through the middle lines. So we're gonna have a lot of commonality and working together. When I was knocking doors this week, I said, we got a heck of a good candidate running for District 1 Supervisor. Take a look at it. That's all good, sir.
Thank you. When I see this map, I'm old enough to remember Johnny Carson. And Johnny would, he'd do a skit and he'd have a map of the Hollywood Freeway. And he'd go, you take the turnpike down to number one, then you go over to here, and you go there, and and it's just like, that's kind of what this map is like here. The easy part is Virginia Township, Jackson Township, and Jefferson. I got all of it. It gets trickier with up in here. Oh, and I should preface this. Yes, we've always had 3 county supervisors. We're going to 5 because the people in the county decided they wanted 5. Okay. And so there's opportunity. There's opportunity. I am running unopposed in the Democrat primary. There are 2 people running in the Republican primary. 1 person from Norwalk, 1 person from New Virginia. They're in their 30s. So that means they have half as much experience as me. So we go up here and so go up Highway 28 and then it jogs over here, it goes on up and you guys, so it goes all the way up to Beardsley, then go over to Beardsley, then up 50th. And there's one little jog here that's North Avenue down to Delaware. That's over in number 2. But so basically, as I say, Norwalk Western suburbs to the interstate. Okay. And what I find really exciting is that, so of the 3 existing county supervisors, 1 is not known, the one in Indianola. Well, at least 2. There's going to be 3 new people regardless. There's going to be a new majority of at least fresh ideas and looking at things maybe differently for the first time. Okay. And the 2 that are incumbents, they both have primary opponents. So we'll see what the landscape looks like. There have been some decisions that they've had to live, as any elected official is. As you run on what you've done over the last few years, okay? So, yes, I run along here, and so I'm gonna really need, I can win all of that by 70%. But if I don't win a majority here, I don't win. Okay? I need you folks for normal. And I hope over the time, as I get to meet you and visit with you, I mean, I'm applying for a job here, okay? You guys have a job that you have open, okay? And that's what I'm trying for. So, you're gonna see us a lot over in here, and I invite you afterwards to come up and look at this a little more, okay? Thank you.
As I mentioned at the outset, the agenda now takes us to the open forum. And if both candidates want to get up and take questions and any other concerns that the guests have.
Can you talk about our platform?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You missed it. Well, glad you're paying attention.
You missed number 4.
Number 3. We're gonna choose 4. Unless you think we already did it.
You can go back. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we'll talk about it now. There are a lot of things that I'm concerned about in our district and in the state of Iowa. Obviously, education, women's rights, not only in the workplace, but their health. And abortion's the big one. And I have my opinions about abortion, but at the end of the day, it's not my choice. It's not my body. I shouldn't have say in it. And that's why I'm totally against what they're doing. Education, we're seeing them destroying our AEA. They have decided that the best way to handle the monies going to schools that would have went to the AEA is to give it to the schools. And then when they passed their last measure, they forgot to say this has to go for this. So in the second year of this legislation, 100% of that money can go into the general fund of the schools. And if they need new basketball equipment or new football equipment, or they want to pay their teachers a little more, that's where that money's going. It's not going to help their students. And we've got a huge amount of kids that need that help. And I just talked to a former teacher and a member of the AEA last night when I was knocking doors. And she said one of the key components that's going to be gone is the staff they send out to help educate our teachers. Because when I get a job, I'd like United Airlines. They just didn't send me out on the tarmac or send me to the ticket counter. There you go. Teachers, when you're going through the program, and I went through Iowa State, I had my 8 weeks or whatever it was student teaching, but it's really not an opportunity to learn the job. And that's what the AEA does. They come in and they help teachers. They give them the programs they need to teach our youth. And I just can't imagine today going to these classrooms without that help. And that's exactly what they've ripped away from our teachers and ripped away from the AEA. I'm also major concerned about veterans. And, you know, we're fine sending our young men and women off to war, but we're not so good about taking care of them when they get back. And that's something that we have to do at the state and the national level. And we just seem to overlook that. And I'm not sure why that's happening. Well, I know why. Probably because most of those politicians haven't gone off to war or served their country in that manner. As a member of union labor, I was union labor, I'm concerned about what they're doing to our unions. They've gone out of their way to try to destroy the unions. And I'm a little concerned that some of our blue-collar labor union members aren't as concerned about it as I am, because they don't seem to understand if we keep giving away their rights, you know, if it worked for unions, we wouldn't have weekends off, we wouldn't have holidays, we wouldn't have overtime pay. We have to make sure we keep collective bargaining, not only in the private sector, but in the public sector. And the last, it has to do with education. I'm scared to death about losing our kids. They're going to move out of state. We have a friend from high school. He's a U.S. District Attorney in Cedar Rapids. He has a daughter or 2 daughters and a son. His son is still in Iowa. His 2 daughters are up in Minnesota. One is going to law school there, and one just finished up the University of Minnesota. And they called up their dad and said, "Dad, we can't move back. There's nothing left in Iowa for us." And we're seeing that drain constantly. We're losing our youth. I don't know. It all goes back to education. We've got to return education back to where it was 20, 30 years ago value is longer for you though.
Funny, not funny.
But those are my major concerns, and education and women's rights are right up at the top of the list.
Anyway. I'm going to work off my card here just a little bit. Warren County's future, number one, growth with fiscal responsibility. We can have both. We are going to continue to grow, but got to be smart about it, okay? We have to quit giving multi-billion companies 15-year tax abatements. And because I've been really researching this, and I mentioned one that's kind of on that slide over there. And I said, you know, it shows they're putting in about 10 million a year as their assessment. And the supervisor says, well, that's not really true. We gave them a 15-year tax abatement and we're only in year 5. You gave them $150 million. So, there's, you know, growth with fiscal responsibility. Keep our law enforcement and service agencies strong and responsive. Southern part of the county, we have a problem. Okay. They're almost all volunteer emergency services. It can take 20 minutes to 30 minutes to have somebody get there. That's then getting them up to the hospital. Okay, there are plans to help correct that. Again, a certain group of supervisors at the moment, I think they're kind of looking out for their own at the moment. And I virtually said it at one of their meetings. If you can't do it right, wait till the rest of us get elected, and then we'll put it together. Law enforcement. Warren County's had 2 bank robberies in the last 30 years. One of them was my bank, where I was at. I had been robbed with armed robbery. Okay. It's not fun when they say, get on the ground and don't come up. And you're going, please let the door leave. Please, 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 please. And so when those patrolmen showed up afterwards, and so I think we all are. You know, we're all very happy. And then the other thing was funny thing would be during the night, sometimes the alarm would go off at the bank down in Virginia. And the service would call, they go, yes, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Your alarm's going off. Do you want us to send a deputy? Yeah, I think I do. I'm gonna go down there, but I want somebody with a gun with me. Okay? Hopefully it's just the wind blew the curtain.
Become a teacher, you can carry your own gun.
Exactly. And I would leave, I live southeast of St. Mary's, and I'd go down the road, and pretty soon I see the deputy's car on R45. See if I can catch him. Never good. Work with our schools to make sure our kids are safe. This is a really big deal. I tell you what, and quickly, this is the kind of stuff I do, guys. When I was working at Indianola, I had 2 kids that are in that are in elementary. It was after a school shooting, and I went to their school, and I just kind of saw what kind of things were in place. Yes, the door to the general population was locked, but you could go right in to the gatekeeper. Behind the gatekeeper, there was a door leading right to the general population. So we got a 25-year-old young lady that is supposed to like stop an intruder. Okay. So then I went to another school, same type of thing. Yeah, the door was locked with the general population, but you could go right into where, you know, the person was, and then right behind them was the open door. Long story short, I took that information. I went to the superintendent of schools of Indianola, told him what I did. He was not happy. He said, why do you think you should be? I go, no, that's not the point. You've got 2 young, I coached in Des Moines. You have to buzz in to get into the building, okay? There was a police officer, that was their beat, okay? It doesn't have to be this, give you our prayers and thoughts, okay? No, I've got some very specific ideas on that, and I'm going to be working with all the communities on that. And lastly, safe and secure roads. Um, We have roads, and my sisters know this, we have roads that if they were properly, not just the road, it's not just the road can be okay, but the trees they've allowed to grow up in the ditch, okay? You know somebody that they went off the road and they were killed by the tree in the ditch, okay? And so, you have all this equipment and everything is, and so there's just, if I'm elected, these are things that are very personal to me and that we want to make certain everybody's safe, okay? Because even though they're down there, they're still your friends, they're still your relatives, okay? And your kids and your sons or daughters, whatever, they may buy a place in the southern part of the district and you want them to have good stuff too. Okay. Open. Questions? What do you got for us?
So I'm concerned about the funding for infrastructure and with I'm all for reduction in income taxes, but at some point, we're gonna start draining that balance of a couple $1 billion. What are your thoughts on legalizing marijuana and having some taxable income from that to help offset some of these items?
I'm in favor of it. I think it's a good idea. So it would be a good income stream for the state. It's not the boogeyman that some folks make it out to be.
Right.
So I think it's a definitely another way to bring income into the state. I mean, short of that, it's going to be taxation on us. If it's not the state doing it, they're going to push it down on the local and county levels. So
Right.
yeah, I think it's a great way to raise money.
And I'm going to piggyback off of what for you. That was the same thing as said going to be about the casinos. All this revenue, but they don't know how to stop spending. Okay? So whatever we bring in, smart people have to make certain that it is spent properly. Because we've had it. You know, we have this influx of income. But, and I have also stood up to the county supervisors that I've stood up to the other people sometimes and said, folks, you have to realize, every time the State House cuts the taxes, you say, oh, thank you. But then our supervisors get less money and they have to raise your real estate taxes double of what they reduced them.
Yeah, cut the property taxes and then raise your assessments,
So. you have-
$100,000.
So in the future, you'll be able to talk to this guy. But in the meantime, the other people that we are representing this, you know, Julian Garrett, whoever, you know, you need to say, come on, you know, let's be smart on this.
And the sad part about, when he talks about Julian Garrett is, Julian has made it plain, I know Katie Rouse mentioned this to me, but they contacted him when this voucher program came out. And Mr. Garrett said, well, the voters spoke in November. So he's not receptive, unless you're a Republican, he's not receptive to what you have to say. And that's not what I'm about. I'm receptive to everybody because I mean, if I'm not, then it's going to fail. The system will fail. We have to listen to everyone and take in everybody's opinions and everybody's advice. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And it's just sad to hear that coming out of Julian, but I wasn't surprised. And I'm not sure if they ever contacted Stan, but I'm sure he's saying the same thing. Stan just,
His is just thanks for your rebuild. Julian doesn't respond to it.
And I will say this because I call these guys now. And on the ADA thing, Stan did say, hey, I need to know these things. You know, have your wife is a teacher, write this stuff down. Give it to me. Julian said, the voters have decided. You know, I mean, it was like, boom, you know, it's like, so.
we have to be clear about Stan. Stan's wife is his clerk at the State House, and she's basically our representative. Stan's had some health issues. I believe he's had a stroke. So I'm not sure that he's fully capable. And so his wife has stepped up basically and taken on that role for him. And it's kind of sad to see, but at least he's admitted that, you know, while he told me at the Legion meeting that his wife threatened to break his legs if he ran again. And I believe that.
We just moved here from Jeff County. There we voted for all of this. But it was different in Warren County.
It is. And it was brought up at the last supervisor meeting. That is how the voters have decided to move. There was a pathway that if anyone wants to bring that up in the future, okay, it's not cast in stone. There's regulations and, brought up, and again, vote for all of the county, vote among all of the county, just like they voted to go from 3 to 5. And so you're right. That's how it is now.
So you got 5 at-large seats and 3 at-large seats.
And everybody, you have to vote for on all 3. So, yeah, I think it is different in a lot of different counties. Yes.
Mark, from the tax abatement standpoint, when we talk about 15 years giving away the farms, what's it some of the other counties around here in Iowa that have, like Apple and everything else? Are these big tech companies saying it's 15 years, or did some other areas maybe get a 10-year abatement, and our fine folks here in Warren County were like, they gave away the farm? So are we getting played, or is that just how the big corporations are coming into Iowa and kind of playing the game, so to speak?
I would
If you know.
only guess, Brian, that's what's going on. I mean, it's pretty standard, I think, throughout central
It's a
Iowa.
15-year thing, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
But I guess what I would say is that when you've got prime real estate, okay, Hy-Vee building out there on Cumming Highway in 35, okay?
Yes, all that
I-
farmland.
I wouldn't give any abatement. That's, if you don't want it, somebody else will. How many people give you both? And again, because I have heard this from the supervisors before, they always fall back, well, it's code. It's Iowa code. Like, okay, let me know the code then, and then let's change the code. Okay. But that is something that I have to learn more about, is what we've given, because, you build a house, yeah, you get that 1 year, but then boom, you're paying.
And I guess my other question, looking at what's going on in Warren County with the supervisors, what do you think has been their biggest screw up, for lack of a better vernacular, that you've seen over the last several years that, I mean, well, courthouse.
The courthouse was one. Okay, now again, I never saw, I didn't see the budget. I didn't see the plan, what it took to repair. All I know is that initial plan had trees in the darn picture. And that day I went up to get lunch, and they were tearing down the big mature trees. My heart just sunk. Now, we can't do anything about that, but I did mention this to the budget lady. And I said, okay, one thing that you guys told us was, or not her, supervisor, was that right now it's costing us money to send prisoners over to another county. Okay. I want to see the books. Are these jail cells full? We have 4 courtrooms. Are they being utilized? What are we doing? I mean, if we got it, we need a little PR then. Okay, I want to see those things full. I want to see them used. And so you said it was going to be a money generator, okay? And so we got to find a way to do that. The other thing was that they did, and again, because the masses of the people corrected, okay? I really wanted to go to the Board of Supervisors, and I wanted to say, thank you very much for selecting Stan Whipple. I don't think there's anything else you could have done that would have lit a fire under the Democrats in this county than what you've done. And by the way, and I debated him. I met him at the county fair, and I stood there with him, and I debated him back and forth a little bit, okay? And so I think that was 2 things. When you hire somebody, and supervisors, they hire them, okay. Anybody hires anybody, first thing you do is you check their social media page. Okay, that's number one. So if they didn't, they should have. Okay. And then if you did, and you still saw he was an election denier, and you still thought he was the best person for the job, so all bets are off.
You've got a
You
problem.
get the 9/11 stuff too, though. I mean, you have that stuff too.
Yeah, he had a lot of.
Yeah.
And so those, but the last one was the one that's like, oh, and they had the gall to be upset with the people saying, you're gonna cost the county $80,000 for a new election. Wouldn't that if you done it right, done who, a person of 27 years that was elected by the people, time and time again, who said was the best qualified for the job. That was a fun afternoon I had with him.
They don't like being corrected for the mistakes. They don't like to hear that I've made a mistake, and that's what they did with Mr. Whipple, and they don't like hearing it. But Democrats, Independents, and Republicans all spoke. And I'm hoping that that message is spreading still today, and we're gonna get those folks crossing over and supporting us. We've got, I think, a lot better message. We actually care about Iowans, and they don't seem to care about us as much. And Jillian Garrett's a perfect example of that. Question?
Yeah. Three things real quick. School lunches, will that be, I know education's important, but a lot of kids got their own good meal of the day and they're cutting them off if they get so far behind.
Well, I know that the summer program, the federal dollars was, the governor said we don't want it. So I know that the summer lunch or the summer program's gone away. I know that Polk County had tried to find a way to get that money for their schools, and I'm not sure where that's headed. It's all going to be affected. And I'm sure the four school program will be affected also, the dollar, because when they start cutting, those are the things they're going to start cutting.
Yeah, I think legalizing marijuana will open up the jails more too, and more room and stuff. And then one more thing, I had texted you about the voting, which they did in the middle of the night. They didn't tell anybody, and it was the next morning. Oh, by the way, we changed your voting, and I told you that. And I don't know if you guys will ever get back to the way it was, where you have more time to vote and.
That's certainly something, if we can get, the Democrats can get control of both houses, there's going to be there'll be sweeping changes or attempts to make those changes. And they're making it incredibly hard, and it's nationwide. Republicans are making it so hard for folks to vote. They want to have it one day. They don't want to have mail-in voting. They want none of that.
Yeah.
And it's, I say, make the election day a national holiday.
Yes.
Everybody have the opportunity to vote.
All right, I am going to bring up one quick thing too. So, and it relates to this quite a bit. So, one day, okay, it's a joke. Okay, but you'll see the devil came up and he asked St. Peter, goes, hey, let's have a baseball team, your guys and our guys. And St. Peter goes, are you kidding me? We have all the greats. We have Luke Gehrig. We have Stan Musial. We have all the greats of all time. What do you have? The umpires. So, people have learned that they can't win it. So, and you've seen it every grass level. This has happened.
You got a question?
This is for Rory. I totally agree with you that our government, our governors, and the legislature is making decisions based on what other states are doing. And that we have young people that are leaving the state, which is a real concern. We only moved back here about 4 years ago. We're appalled at what the state government is doing to the LGBTQ plus community. And I'd like your thoughts. I'd like your thoughts on what we can do. I march in pride parades in Des Moines. We attend one Iowa meetings. And it just feels so frustrating that the human rights of a portion of our community is being neglected.
Life cells that give you a heartbeat has to see it.
To get a change made there, what are your feelings?
I'm sorry, what was that last part?
What are your feelings? I know that we need more Democrats in your legislature to get some change made. This was a state that was one of the first in the nation. It was the first to approve same-sex marriage.
Iowa nice, right? That's what they say about it, Iowa nice, but where has that gone? I belong to a church here in Norwalk that's open and affirming. And the first day I walked in, after the sermon, I was in tears. They totally have reached out to the LGBTQ community and fully embraced it. And our pastor's wonderful. His college roommate is gay, and he's such a wonderful man, and his husband. They're just awesome people. And a sad note, they live over here in the west side of Norwalk, and they've had 2 of their rainbow flags taken off their house and destroyed. You know, it's not right. You know, just like women's rights, it's a basic human right. We shouldn't be telling people how to lead their lives. You know, this is where, and I promised I wasn't going to badmouth the other side, but you know, they always claim that they're the party of this and the party of that. You know, Mark mentioned it with the finance or the money side of it. They aren't about small government anymore. They're about filling their own pockets and their own religious ends. And I'm sorry, that's not the way it should work. You know, I asked them to open the Bible up and read it. It'd be amazing what they would find in there if they actually read it. And that's loving your fellow man. And their legislation doesn't point to that at all.
My concern is that we're going to slip so far in that it's going to be hard to get back to where it should be.
Absolutely.
Well, social issues don't belong in the government.
Yeah, just ask them. They'll tell you.
We need to separate them. I mean, there are social issues and they can settle them, but then the government steps in and screws them up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Religion doesn't belong in the government either.
No, absolutely not.
If not, they should pay property taxes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, that's true. Somebody once said that, yeah, their minister, right now, there are, and I shared this with Rory, and I guess it's been a lot of it. Yeah, there are ministers out there telling their congregation, if you're a good Christian, you can't vote for a Democrat.
Well, and I mean, our dear friend Martin J. Laughlin, he's the U.S. District Attorney up in Cedar Rapids. During COVID, he was watching Mass on, live stream, and Father came on and said the same exact thing. You can't be a Catholic and vote for a Democrat. And at that point, him and his wife were questioning their faith, and that should never happen. Politics should be left out of the church, and church should be left out of politics.
That's what the Constitution, I thought, said.
Well, you think so? Give Don a chance, though. He'll get rid of that nasty thing.
So so I'm an independent, what's your thought? I mean, I saw what happened in Kansas, everybody did, and Ohio and some of those other states. Why don't we just put some of these issues to vote, for the people, and we'll tell them exactly how to feel, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
The governor doesn't want to do that.
If we did get the opportunity to put something like a board to work with the people, because there's a lot of things that get made up. And then these politicians pat themselves on the back for solving the made up problem. And so what would be your position if we had the opportunity, or if there was the opportunity to go ahead and put that to the vote? I know it's a process.
Oh, I'm totally in favor of it.
Yeah.
It's the same way with term limits.
Yeah. Are you in favor of term limits?
Yes, absolutely. We don't need these 90-year-old guys in office dictating policy, and it's both sides. It's just not Republicans, it's Democrats also. They need term limits.
We do.
So then you've got urban and rural, and it's an interesting mix in this area. So what's your message to rural people? Well, it's the softball probably for you, Mark, but what's your message to those rural folks that you represent? Because, I'm making the assumption that there's a lot of red out there in the rural areas. That's just the way it is. Okay, maybe that's, yeah. But what's your message to them?
I think, you just shook your head. No,
I disagree with that.
I think in our district, 22, like I said, Squaw Creek's gonna be a tough one to crack. It's pretty red and it's pretty rural. But I think the rest of it, it's just getting, I think people are sick and tired of what's going on at the State House. And I think they want change. We just have to get the message to them, what the message is. So I think we can get to those folks. And Mark and I have a unique advantage because we're from those areas. You know, my family, my dad always said down at the Virginia Cemetery, you couldn't sling a dead cat without hitting one of our relatives' gravestones. And it's very true. I've got probably a quarter of that cemetery's family. So I got a strong presence down there. And it's, you know, my family were farmers down there when they first came here to Iowa. So I think Mark and I both have a good message to rural people that we're from there. And we know, you know, what you're going through.
I'm bringing up the big bad, because it's a softball for me. A couple years ago, my wife and I, on the weekend, we traveled down to the villages abandoned here in Green County. Always wanted to see those, okay? And as we go, I see Trump after Trump after Trump after Trump. And my wife was just livid. And I said, I'll preface this by saying, one difference between a Democrat and Republicans lately is, I'll say when we've done something wrong. I'll say it when we've been stupid, okay? And we've allowed another segment to define us every single day. They changed the definition of liberal. They changed the definition of everything. But I said to my wife, I said, listen, you're 30 years old, working hard on the farm, probably maybe a factory job in Ottumwa, and the Republicans have God, country, and free will. And the Democrats are way off to the left. Okay. I can't blame that young couple. You know, a lot of people say, the Democratic Party, as we knew it, the family, or the party of labor, of, like my family, you know, giving a hand up, not a hand, you know, we had Social Security, we had student loans, okay, those very things. And I would promote, I've looked this up too, the greatest wealth in the last 20 years of farmers and cattlemen have been during the Obama and Biden administrations. We don't say anything. We don't. And it's right there in black and white. Land values, cattle values. And remember, I was the lender from 1980 to 1992 during 12 years of that Republican reign. I mean, I knew people that killed themselves, okay? And interest was 20%. And so part of it is the party I represent is, I think, to blame. Because you've heard me say, the old Louisiana Raging Cajun Carvel of Clinton's administration, he goes, the Democrats need to gloat and promote more, okay? And when they say stuff we've done, he goes, you know that, yeah, okay, we're working on it, okay? But we have to quit being so darn scared, you know? And so missing. And this is what I think Rory and I wanted to mention too. We've got another great district supervisor running in 3, Jane Polachecki. She worked on Tom Vilsack's staff. And she goes, she knows that every county, there are grants available to counties. She did grant writing for years and years. And she goes, there's money out there for us to get for these programs that keep getting cut back. You have to have somebody who knows how to do it. She knows how to do it. Okay. So again, we're excited about the prospects of what are out there. But
you mentioned Jane. Jane had many jobs, and she worked with the AEA, and they had this strike force, basically. They have this huge RV and 60 people that could go somewhere in an emergency. When the Perry shooting happened, they were there in an hour. That program will be gone with these cutbacks.
Yeah.
We won't have that. And, God forbid we should ever have another shooting in one of our schools, but we have to be realistic. It's probably gonna happen.
Well, not after you harm all the teachers.
That's right.
What's your solution to that? What's your solution to making schools safer and, I'm just,
Mark mentioned part of it, I hate to think of what we have to do. When we're in school, were the doors ever locked?
No, the kids were to go to
As
school
soon
with
as the
guns.
shooting in our school, Martinsville St. Mary's, as soon as the shooting of the Amish children back in early nineties, maybe, I'm not sure when
They
that
start
was.
locking?
Immediately, I made a contact, he called to the principal, and he said, we're making plans to do that now. Our front doors are locked, and the door, once you get into the general office, is locked into the school, so you have to be admitted.
That's it. You know, it's right there. Yeah,
You
so.
have to buzz into the school, you have to buzz into the next.
I don't know if the answer is having, officers in the school. I know Norwalk has an officer in the school. I'm not sure if that's the answer or not, but it's certainly not harming our teachers. My God, they have enough to worry about without putting a weapon on them. And, what happens if God forbid, it's misplaced and the student gets a hold of it? But another, we talked about.
They're immune.
What's that?
They're immune to prosecution.
Exactly. So I had a thought earlier, what happens if a school shooting's going on, a teacher has a weapon in their hand, and an officer comes in and sees that teacher with the weapon? What is their first reaction going to be? They're probably going to shoot the teacher. We don't need weapons in the classroom. I'm sorry, that's just.
So I do have my main idea. And I found out Warren County has like 20 deputies. Okay. One gentleman at the last district or supervisor meeting goes, he thought because there was only 2 deputies for the whole county at night, that we must not have enough deputies. Okay. They didn't answer the question properly, but the answer was, well, the sheriff is determined. And he goes, no, we have 20 deputies. My thought is that I don't care if I get on, and again, I will just broach the subject to whether it's the chief of police of Norwalk, Indianola, the sheriff. I don't care if you write somebody a speeding ticket for going 10 miles over speed limit on 92. Between 7:30 and 3:30, I want you parked at a school. Why not? They say, well, we're in the vicinity. What can happen in 2 minutes, or whatever. But it's like, wouldn't you want to be where, our most precious people are? Now, again, I was hesitating because I know one thing Democrats are really bad at is being very specific on things, and then other people just pick the heck out of it, And the other side just says, make America great. Are you gonna, never mind, we're gonna do it, And so, but no, I will ask them, whether elected or not, why? Like I said, you've had 2 bank robberies in 30 years, okay?
What about metal detectors in schools?
They have plastic guns now.
That's right. They just did those on,
Plastic guns, they're carrying the
yeah.
guns.
So
Just found
that's,
some.
that is, I tried to bring up what the police force is in Norwalk, I didn't get that, but,
Norwalk has 21.
okay. I know Indianolas are out there writing a lot of seatbelt tickets. And
Bad boy.
And again, in fact, I asked the gentleman, I said, you never let anybody just go. He goes, well, the governor's got a task force on safety on the road, so. He goes, that's what I'm out here right now.
Now, that's kind of iffy if she starts driving again. Travis, part of that goes back, and I wasn't going to bring this up, but, we've become such a culture of guns.
yes,
And all these mass school shootings, what type of weapons?
It's an assault rifle.
Well, AR-15. Now, when I was in the service, we had the military grade, which is the M16. I shot an M16, I shot an M60, and I shot a 50 cal. There is no reason on God's green earth that any civilian should have those weapons in their hands. If you want to fire those weapons, there's a perfect place to do that. And Marty, where is that?
In a firing range with other trained people or in the army.
Hey, there you go. They can put their right hand on that Bible and they'll let them shoot all day long. And, you know, that's where they belong. They don't belong in somebody's home.
Well, I've got to have a CBL call ring. I mean, why the hell can you?
Exactly.
You have a gun, I'll bring it to school, you know, I mean, you should have some sort of safety, I don't know, safety or what.
But the darn Democrats, want to be regulations. See, that's the problem.
I just say that, like, a few years ago, again, livestock encounter, I had wanted to try and raise a Jeep, okay, and so a couple weeks before they're ready to land, a coyote got in and killed 2 of my ewes, okay. I put electric wire around the pen, I made the barn safe so it would be shut off at night. I played the radio to WHO or somebody was talking, and I got a guard dog.
Rush Limbaugh, that's scary.
I never lost them. No, I don't want to minimize it, but I mean, lately we've been just going,
Prayers, we'll
you
say
know,
prayers.
gee, you know, and so like you and me, I mean, we lose one animal, and it's like, okay, we got to plan this. You know, we never do this again, and that's what we do, but we don't seem to in certain situations.
I just wanted to chime in, if you don't mind. Please, back to the room on this gun issue in this classroom. Because at a house meeting last week, we can speak to this as well. We both listened to some educators in the room, in a living room setting, who were just trying to describe the fear and some of the young ones that were there as well, high school age. The dynamics of sitting in the classroom looking up at a teacher with a holster environment. And these kids aren't going to speak it like we see as fathers and grandfathers and stuff. But I'm always asking myself, what's going on in their mind? And what we heard was fear. And it just takes away the dynamic of what an educator should be. And that whole introduction of that is wrong. I worked in federal law enforcement for 27 years, carried a weapon, concealed. I can't imagine my grandkids going to the classroom in the future now, with teachers having a holster and a weapon in there. It's a killing device. And yeah, they're going to give them some training. They got a permit to carry their own personal weapons, blah. But it shouldn't even be in the school.
Isn't Iowa law that you don't need a permit to carry now?
Yes.
Unfortunately.
I mean, it's been opened up so much. It's so loose.
Here's another fear for me. Teachers with weapons, you have to have that commitment in your mind that when you pull that, you will fire it.
That's what you're talking.
That's exactly, and how many of our educators are going to be willing to do that?
Well, Rory, I think that's right on the nose because my daughter's in education and she didn't go into education to be law enforcement.
Amen.
That was not her motivation to go into education.
My daughter-in-law teaches up in Des Moines at George Washington Carver, and it's probably one of the most diverse elementary schools in Des Moines. And, you know, she sees those troubled kids come through every day. And I just can't imagine her strapping on a weapon. Now she's leaving Des Moines and coming down to Norwalk. She got a job here, but nevertheless, doesn't matter what school you're in, they're still going to request that or ask you to do that. And I just can't imagine.
My wife is a teacher. My daughter is a teacher. My wife has worked 30 years in the district in Des Moines. at one of the poorest schools in the state. She would never carry a gun, never. But she would be the first one to jump in front of those kids. My daughter did not go into education to learn how to, and she comes to me all the time and says, Dad, I don't know what's going on. Two things are happening in this state that everybody needs to be aware of. The Republicans do not govern to help you. They rule by fear. They pass laws to scare you. A transgender kid might run a race in high school. That's supposed to destroy the entire world. And they do not own the corner of the market on Christianity. Absolutely, they do not.
Oh, they do.
I don't know how many of you, but again, over the last couple of years, I had, when I was working at People's Bank, the opportunity, teachers asked if I would come over, maybe do a segment on agriculture in the world, that sort of thing. I found it very fulfilling, thought it was a lot of fun, told my wife about it, she goes, you did it for 1 hour. You know? But in the midst of it, they had a drill. They had an intruder drill. And the teacher goes, okay, children, we're going to go back to the back room. She went, she locked the door, all the children, they all went there. It's quiet. And then someone went around and they checked all the doors. So someone came around and I hear the rattling of the door, someone trying to get in. That spooked the hell. Okay. And I knew it was just, but I mean, are you kidding? I mean, it just brings the like, well.
They do that instead of fire alarm drills.
That's what our drill was. And my kids, when they first started school in Milwaukee, it was fire. I don't know when that'll change, but it was fire alarm drills for me. My God, I can't imagine what our fire alarm intruder drills.
So I had, to piggyback on your presidential, markets and stuff, if you look at the difference between 45 and 46, the corn price went up almost overnight. Within a month of the election being over, from 45 to 46, the corn price was steady that whole time, and then it went up. So, yes, 100%, you're not wrong when you say any of that about a Democrat being controlling, not even controlling the markets, just traders want to have that freedom to know that we're not going to go punch our greatest buyer, China or Mexico, in the mouth. Why would you do that? And so, but they made it right by making payments to farmers, and so that's how, anyhow, I have to take advantage of my employer's health services, mental health services. Called 10 different people, got 0, let's see, 2 answered, 1 was full, 1 just happened to get me in terms of counselors. So my question is, and going back to guns too, I mean, yes, it's guns, but I think the state of mental health. So what are some of your solutions? What do we need to be catering to? What do we need to be doing to make that better? Not just for our students, not just for our kids, but for us as adults as well. What are your thoughts on those?
We had a young lady speak at one of our house meetings. She works in the mental health field. And she was saying how horrible it is trying to get Medicaid payments. And that's why, they're cutting back on mental health. And it started with Governor Branstad, closing facilities, and
Yes, he did.
the present governor's doing the same thing, cutting availability for folks that need that help.
So we have the health surplus. We want to brag about that. Right. At the state house. Boy, it's got a lot of money.
Yeah, and there's reason for that. They're cutting programs, but we need to get those programs funded. And we had a gentleman at the last meeting, he worked for Medicaid. And he said, we have the infrastructure there, but we can't get the funding. He says, we're losing people because we can't pay them. So we got to get the money back into the mental health fields, whether it's Medicaid or our professionals.
I just understand we got this huge surplus now. Great. But what's she doing? She thinks it's her own private money? I mean, is she?
Well, she's got to give that back to the top 2 or 3%, her donors.
Right.
She can't give it to Iowans in general. It's got to go to the folks that
Well, I-
support her and help them.
You didn't get your check?
No.
Me either.
Yeah, we're ready for you.
Okay.
Yeah, you just want to take a seat. What about Ray Jim? Doris and Terry, they're going to be handing out a clipboard. So I mentioned this as a preface to the clipboard itself. At all of our house meetings, and this agenda of minutes, or basically is our agenda at all our house meetings. We have 6 to date, 1 in Carlisle and the rest in Norwalk. We have 1 on Thursday night in Greenfield Plaza. So this agenda is very close to that. Just changed a little bit because we have additional candidate here tonight and sort of a bigger audience. But what you heard earlier, and Carla mentioned from the back about inclusivity, belonging. Angela talked about it. Chris spoke about it eloquently. It hits us all. And we've seen candidates run about this before, but I know Roy and Mark are heartened to say that belonging in the Democratic Party is something we should be proud of.
Yes.
And it's something we should, enunciate. I use the word, maybe not appropriately, but evangelize in a certain respect, right? We should be proud to say we're Democrats, and we should be proud to say what we're for. It's not bad to get together and talk about some of the things that concerns us, obviously. And so we talk about inclusivity here, and the concept of campaigns like this don't happen just by a few people. It's going to take a team, a group of people, an army. And so we have to make the ask, and we want to make the ask because we want you part of Team Taylor, we want you part of Team Matlich, in whichever way possible. So I didn't give you this tonight, but at other meetings, smaller in sorts, we asked about hosting a house meeting. Pretty simple. We come in with an agenda like we did tonight. And this is not a sell job, but we'll take you through it. And if you want to make a couple cookies or do whatever, provide some refreshments like we did tonight, we get Democrats talking together. And the power of what I heard just not too long ago was that's the real heart of the meeting, is when Democrats are talking to other Democrats and the candidates about these core issues that really come at the heart of our democracy. So much of what we feel like we're losing in the state of Iowa. Well, we're darn determined to make these gentlemen, successful in their bid for office.
Yes.
Roy's asked me to be his campaign manager. I told him I didn't need a title. I'm just going to be your friend. I'll do whatever needs to be done.
I heard you call yourself that tonight.
It was a slippage, okay? It's not perfect, okay? That's not my job, but I don't look at this as a job. It's really, it's a pursuit of just kind of, the goodness of what should be done on behalf of other Iowans. I'm from Minnesota, if you can't tell. Minnesota. And so it comes out. My wife is born in Iowa. And so I was actually just raised about a mile above the Iowa border. And when I moved to Iowa, I got all these jokes about Minnesotans. And I guess every time I said the word, they started making fun of me. But I'd say, hey, half of the kids in my 40 kid class were from Iowa because they open enroll. It was too far to go to the co-op. So I grew up with kids from Iowa. I always thought we were all one. It's part of being, belonging. So at any rate, that volunteer list is going around. And we'll make it comfortable for you. The other thing is canvassing, knocking on doors in order to try to get the invitations out and get our campaign going on the road. Roy knocked on, we have 350 people in your district. Precinct? Doors.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, more than that in terms of numbers of people. I had about 230 people in precinct 1. So precinct 1 is to the west of where you're sitting here. And precinct 2 is to the east, going north and south down the way. And we also had Marty Squire and his mom. There he is, Marty, thank you. Marty and his mom, Sue Ort, who was sitting back here with her husband, Mel, walking around. I know Sue had the clipboard like Terry did with me. And I had the phone, and it had the app, the minivan app that we got from the Iowa Democratic Party, excuse me. And we recorded the data. Just like tonight, I took a record at every house meeting. Recorded this, but I know Chris has this all videotaped. Notes on just what you had to say to them, because this helps us learn about what's on your mind. That's the essence of representing you, right? You want representatives to know what's on your mind. They want to know you, and you want to know them. And so that's why the clipboard is so important to come around. The other part of that equation is what it takes to produce some of the things we need to do to get the message out. We're doing a lot right now. We have a media team. Chris is part of it. He's awesome. I'm getting to know him even more than I knew that he was capable of, but this guy is amazing. And he's a marketing genius. He's also got this technology that Roy and I, as we sat at a meeting at my house, we were lost. Abby Schuler, Hannah Schuler's, Sarah Schuler's daughter, is working with us as well. She goes by Abby. Her name is Hannah, right?
Yep.
And she's on the media team as well. She couldn't make it tonight, but she and Roy's daughter Amy are working up some things for us on the campaign. And so we have volunteers, and they said, well, we can't make it to me, but we gotta be at home. Yes, I'm getting around here.
Okay.
And a few others, but we're gonna be working on something that you can use when you're out there canvassing. That's what volunteer is. And so we went to a house meeting not too long ago, like I said, last time around, and the gun ownership or gun possession by teachers was there, and we have these young people like Rebecca Scherf's daughter of Linda and Brian. Laura, excuse me, sorry. Rebecca's 17 years old, and Terry and I were talking with her, and we thought she'd already been done through college. She's a page at the Capitol, and she's bringing her ideas to the front. And we are so heartened to have some young people who are going to be able to vote, actually, many of them, 17 years of age. I'm sorry to give your age, but your experience seems to speak well beyond that age you're at. And they're going to get a part of this campaign too. Katie, are you still around? Katie, where are you? Left? Or Katie? No?
Yeah, she left.
Katie wants to help us with the young people, getting them together and giving them a safe forum, because apparently, we also learned at a house meeting that the young people at Norwalk School of the Democratic affiliation can't speak to their Republican friends because they get into the Republicans, what they hear at home comes to school and becomes an unsafe conversation to have. And so we want to do things like that. Phone banking is going to be part of our campaign outreach to voters. That's something that people can volunteer to help do. We'll provide the script as we will the canvassing. We do the training with the canvassing and the phone banking. Event participation assistance. We're going to have some bigger events, some barbecues and some other events in the district all over, because you've seen already we have to go everywhere to do house meetings and events to get the word out. Social media outreach, we're already doing that, but already people have signed up at the last house meeting who want to do social media help. And we're certainly going to be calling them and asking, what can you do for us, to help us along? Because everything I just mentioned, our opponents, their opponents, come after the primary on June 4th. There will be a candidate in both the county supervisor race against Mark, who's unopposed on the Democratic side, and for Roy, there's no Democratic candidate against him. Until the June 4th primaries decided, he'll know what who his opponent is. And they're going to do all of these outreaches that we're doing now. So we're trying to get out now. We've been knocking on those doors, like I said, getting the social media information out there. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook, the campaign for Roy at least.
And website.
And the campaign website, taylorforhouse.com. So